Good evening, everyone. Welcome back live for Make It With Me Monday. I have to change out my stamp and seal before we get started because I just ran out as I was trying to finish up something. So wait for a little bit and see who can hop on and join me tonight. If you're here, say hello. And I'm not sure if I can see all the comments, but I will definitely reply to them after I am all done filming. So I hope everybody had a great weekend. It looks like we have a little taste of warm for another day here in the Madison area. We did actually get some random hail this afternoon, which was a little unexpected, but and then we're going to hopefully be back to fall weather, and that's going to keep on going. Alrighty, so I'm just going to hop right into it. Hopefully this is the last week that I will be up in my mock shift area. I get to take my boot off in about the middle of the week and see how it's healing, which hopefully will make for stair climbing and all that other fun stuff just that much easier. So that'll be very cool, is that I can finally take the boot off permanently. I was allowed to take it off for showering and sleeping and that kind of stuff, but otherwise it was pretty much on the whole time. So that's been 6 weeks that it actually kind of flew by, which was kind of nice. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So for tonight, I'm going to be using one of the bundles from the mini catalog, and it's actually one that looks a little springier. It's called Translucent Florals. So there's the stamp set, and it has a matching die set. Some of these cut out the images, and some you can use just straight up to build flowers all on your own, just out of regular cardstock or designer series paper, whatever you're choosing. And currently in the online store, there is a matching designer series paper that you can get that'll go along with this. And some of the dies even cut out some of the pieces on the DSP. So great, pretty set, pretty color combinations. And I'll show you one as we go along here. All right, so for tonight, you needed a card base that is 5.5 by 8.5. I have Bubble Bath. And then you need, it's gonna be scored at 4 1/4. And then you need a piece of neutral cardstock that's 2 3/4 square. I'm going to be using basic white. Let me see if I can get more into the light here. And then a piece of designer series paper that's 3 by 4. So this is from that Translucent Florals designer series paper. It's available in the online store. And if you have any questions about how to find that, how to order that, whatever you need, just leave a comment and I will get in touch with you. And then you needed a piece of scrap just for your phrase. We're going to do something that's that can be cut apart. So kind of like a few words that are strung together is a good choice here. You can always add this later, so don't worry if you don't have a phrase going right now. We're just going to build the pieces here as we go. So let's go ahead and take that neutral square. And what you're going to want to do is we're just going to fill it with images or die cut shapes or whatever you want to do. So I'm going to stamp randomly some of the flowers. One of the flowers from this set, it's this one right here. And I'm going to stamp it in Bubble Bath. Now this particular stamp set is done in a distinctive design, which means there's light and dark, so shading elements throughout the stamp itself. So when you stamp it, you get kind of a variety of color, which is really kind of fun. And I'm not doing this very particularly, it's kind of random, just to kind of cover up areas there. All right, and then I'm going to go fill in some of those areas with just a little filler, and I'm going to add that in Lemon Lime Twist, kind of a little brighter green, and just this fun little shape, just to fill in some empty spots, kind of like that little bit of tiny pop of green there. We'll do one up there. When I'm doing something like this, I want to make sure that I go off the cardstock as I'm stamping it, because it kind of gives it a finished look. Otherwise, it looks too much like you've framed it within that space. It looks better if it's going off the edges a little bit. Oh, and as long as I have that Lemon Lime Twist out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my phrase. So from that stamp set, Translucent Florals, I have You're the Best. And then I'm going to be able to cut that apart into a few different letters. Not cutting individual letters, that's for sure. Okay, you also have the option, if you want to not just use stamped images here, you could use die cuts, any kind of three-dimensional type part of it that you like. So I did actually go ahead and I die cut out a flower and an extra little leaf pattern. And I am going to put that, excuse my hiccups, put that on there with some dimensionals, which I just had next to me. Oh, there they go. Oh my goodness, this is a bad time to get the hiccups. All right, let's see if that'll help it. Okay, so I'm gonna have that go right about in there. And now that I've covered up one of those little green ones, I'm gonna put another one back. Gonna lift him up a little bit, boop, and put it back down. There we go. Now I don't have quite that little dead spot that I saw there before. Okay, so for assembly, here's what we're gonna do. You are gonna take your card that was scored at 4 1/4, give it a nice crease with your bone folder. If you don't have one of those handy, you can use the edge of your block. That's always another option that you can use there. Now, a couple options for the piece of designer series paper. You can decide if you want to center it, have it go to a corner, that corner, middle, whatever you like. So I'm going to start out perfectly centered because the rest of my samples are not done that way. And that way you can see some of the differences as I go through them. And actually, I am going to do it just slightly off center to the left. So it's centered top to bottom, just a little left of center for that part there. Then I'm going to go ahead and do this guy. Now, if you want any of these parts popped up on dimensionals, you know you absolutely can do that. Now here again, you can have the layer, hi Kathy, good to see you tonight. You can have the layer be down here or up here or in the middle. So again, I will go ahead and center, just overlapping a little bit. And then I'm going to take my words and my scissors. There we go. So again, if you have like a 2 or 3 word phrase, that's usually what works really nicely with this layout, and something that's kind of small. So first I'm just going to cut out the whole thing, and then I can work with the parts. So again, that You're the Best came from that translucent florals stamp set. So let's do your and the best by itself. Okay, so I'm going to put a little adhesive on the back of that against my finger so that I don't get it too much all over the place. All right, and I'm going to have that coming off the side here. So you kind of see the progression of the angles there. And the Your is going to go right on top of that. And as you'll see through my samples, you can see other versions of this that I've done similarly, the ways I've done that differently. So you'll go through and see a couple different ways to set up this particular design. Again, that was mostly centered just a little bit to the left because of this general right progression. I wanted to make sure that I kept it on the card itself. All right, so here's another sample, very similar. It's a little more left than the first one I did. And what I did here is I took the Let's Go Fishing Designer Series paper and I cut out a couple of fish, a couple of the fish, and have them on my square there. And I did Happy Birthday from the Go-To Greetings. You can see that over here. So again, I moved it over to this side as opposed to the other side. And I added a layer of pecan pie behind that, my fish image. All right, this one here, I took and I did an angle cut on my designer series paper. This one is the Magical Meadow, sorry. And then the DSP that coordinates with that one. And the background I used was Misty Moonlight. And again, this comes from the Go-To Greetings. I used the stamp set here in both Blueberry Bushel and Mellow Moss, Mossy Meadow, there we go. Mellow Moss, that's a throwback. But I stamped them off first. They were a little bit softer and they blended in with this designer series paper a little bit better. And then if you can see, I took the edges of my neutral square and I kind of drug them through the ink pad. So they have just a little touch of the moss color on the background there to give it just a little bit of separation since this particular DSP has a very white background. I wanted to make sure that those had a little separation to them. Now this one here, I flipped the orientation. So this is still my 3x4 piece of designer series paper. I just went landscape with it instead of portrait. Okay. And I added a layer of boho blue to the back. And then the rest of that is pebbled path. So it's just the two colors, boho blue and pebbled path in various shades, meaning either I stamped them off or directly in full color. And again, this is Go-To Greetings. This time I added an extra happy, so they have a really extra happy birthday. Here's one I did with the Zany Zoo crew. This one I stamped in die cut. I just stamped directly onto that piece there. And I had meant to do a little coloring in him to make him a little bit of green, and I realized I didn't bring up my particular my marker for that. So I'm going to do that later and then I can post that with I had meant to have a little bit of color green in here since I have just a little pop of color on balloons on the raccoon. Okay, so we've got Happy Birthday to You. That is from the Zany Zoo stamp set. Instead of the neutral, though, I stamped them on the Lemon Lime Twist so that they popped off a little bit off of that neutral color. And then this is the back side. The Zany Zoo one has black and white patterns on one side, and then the images of all the fun animals are on the other. Okay, so let's go back and remember what I did on camera, and then I will show you how I stepped it up. And really, it's just a lot of layering. So the first thing I did is I added a base layer that I embossed with the paint texture embossing folder. Instead of just an angle cut, I did kind of a double angle on this one, so it's more of a banner shape, and then I backed it with black so it really pops off the page. These I fussy cut out of Designer Series paper and put over the parts that I had already stamped. So there's just a little bit more intensive color that goes more with the color back here. And then again, a phrase from that same translucent floral stamp set. I stamped in Fresh Freesia though, and made it a happy birthday card. So those are the basic differences with this layout, is basically how much layering you want to do. And then you can always add gemstones, rhinestones, pearls, any of those fun little accessories. You could put them into the corners or just randomly around the card. You could add a little bit of ribbon or, like a little bow or knot or something at the base of some of your images, depending on what you're using, and see how that fits into that. All right, so that was those two. I'll go through them real quick again for you. And the Trucking Along, that this is one of the online exclusive stamp sets, in case you're wondering where that came from. Okay, and then these two guys right here. So several different things you can do with that piece of Designer Series paper in the background. Use it at different angles, different directions. Like I said, you can flip it and go horizontal with that one. Keep it that way. We'll move it around the things so you can see, like some of them are more to the edge, some of them are more centered, like the one I did first was very centered. So lots of ways you can change up this particular layout. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I'm excited that next week, hopefully, I will be down in my studio without my boot on. And I won't have to do quite so much makeshift stamping up in my dining room. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your Monday. And I will see you again next week. Take care now. Bye.